Okay, welcome back to TribPreps. We have 2 weeks of playoffs now under our belt here in Wisconsin, and we have a lot of teams still playing. We'll start with a score list tonight, and you can see the evidence in that there. Division 3, we had Onalaska 42, Medford 12, West Salem 35, FVL 14. Going to Division 5, Prairie du Chien beats River Valley 52-15. Aquinas 36, Maple Northwestern 16. Division 6, Marshall 15, Luther 14. Knights have a really good season come to an end there and had the ball late with a chance at a second straight upset. So Bangor, a surprising one. Bangor 20, Potosi Cassville 0, Cashton 42, Ithaca 13. 8-man, we had Belmont 14, DeSoto 12. Again, Pirates had the ball at the end of that one too. Had a chance to avenge a regular season loss to Belmont, but just couldn't do it. I'm sports editor Todd Sommerfeldt. We have Andrew Tucker from Winona pitching with us tonight. We have James Krause over here. So let's talk some playoff football, what we saw tonight. James, you were over in Onalaska. Another one-sided win for the Hilltoppers. How'd they do it?
And it was, I know obviously at this point in the year it's sort of taken for granted what Onalaska has been able to do, but to be able to do it this deep into the playoffs, I mean, they were able to, score sort of at will, it felt like, in the first half against Medford. 11 catches for 97 yards for Nick Odom, 15 for 22 for Adam Skifton.
Skifton, another good game for him.
Yeah,
he's had a really good junior year, first year as a starter.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns. He actually had a touchdown reception as well. There's sort of a trick play.
Who threw it to him?
Maddie
Burnett.
Burnett had an interception and ended that drive with a sort of like trick play where it was a handoff to Burnett, and Skifton just kind of skated past everyone and got wide open.
Okay.
And then Maddie they missed the first extra point they had in the game, and so they made it back by Maddie throwing another pass for the 2-point conversion. So just they look fantastic like they normally do, I suppose.
Yeah, it sounds like no trouble for Onalaska tonight, obviously, with the score, but what you're saying, and they scored a lot quick, right? They built a big lead right away.
Yeah, they got 14-0 in the first, and then they scored 2 touchdowns in, I think, 4 offensive plays in that first 2 minutes of the second quarter. So they got a big lead early, and that sort of, helped solidify things. Medford wasn't able to do much offensively. I think I have here they only had, some 30-something, or actually down the stretch they got some more yards, but I want to say entering the fourth quarter they had 38 rushing yards. And for a team that runs a lot of power run, that's not going to do it.
Right. Andrew, you watched the Aquinas football team tonight.
I did.
They're a 3 seed, taking a 4-hour bus ride today.
I did not make a 4-hour drive. I watched that game from the comfort of my desk.
Yes, but a 4-hour drive can lead to some issues, I would guess, at times, and took a little while for them to shake Northwestern, which was the 2nd seed and undefeated, but they did it. How'd they do it?
Yeah, it was sort of a give and take in the first half where Northwestern took the opening kick and had a drive that was 8-9 minutes long. They didn't throw a single pass on that drive until a 2-point conversion. So they just pounded the ball down Aquinas' throat. And then Aquinas got the ball back and scored in about a minute with a few pretty big plays, a 50-plus yard screen pass, a couple long runs, and then running the ball from that point on became the play for Aquinas.
From reading your story that's on lacrossetribune.com already, it looks like they decided that tonight they were going to run the ball.
Absolutely.
That's what Coach Lee said going in, that they were going to try to do that. They did that last year. They won a state championship once the playoffs started. They really kind of transitioned a bit and really started to run the ball a lot more, and they did that with success.
Exactly.
Tonight.
Yeah. They at halftime they were down. I believe it was 16-14 was the score, and it didn't bother them. They're an experienced group. Jackson Flottmeyer only threw 5 passes, and those the four. He was 4 for 5, and those 4 completions were all at or behind the line of scrimmage on screen passes, shovel passes. So they were content to not go with the deep game, and Flottmeyer made his impact on defense instead with picking off a pair of passes. From what Tom Lee said and from what Jackson himself said, it's not a big deal that he wasn't throwing the ball. They just want to win. And they just want to keep rolling in pursuit of their second state championship, although they will not bring up a state championship at all.
No. But that's pretty amazing that they can just completely change what they do.
Absolutely, yeah.
In the second round of the playoffs against an undefeated team and win by 3 touchdowns.
Exactly. They had 342 rushing yards. They had a trio of backs that were all at or around 100 yards. It was just a truly dominant performance. And really, when you have that many good running backs, as Calvin Hargrove said himself, it was because of the O-line. The O-line dominated in the trenches, opened up big gaps that allowed big burst plays, and Aquinas looked all the better for it.
It's interesting because it feels like at this time of year you expect teams, in order to advance deep in the playoffs, they have to be good at things they'd normally be uncomfortable doing.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile you have Alaska in your game, Todd, with West Salem, where it's teams that are just able to kind of go out and run their game and haven't had to really deal with that yet of having to get uncomfortable in any of these games.
Yeah. And now, speaking of comfort, Aquinas gets a little more comfort. They get to play a home game next week after Colby knocks off the 1 seed, St. Croix Falls, on the other side. So Blue Goals get to play at UWL next Friday night. No more big bus ride. They anticipated they were supposed to go back up to St. Croix if St. Croix Falls had won. So a little more comfortable week for the Blue Goals next week. I was out at West Salem. 35-14 game. FEL scored late. They also scored early. It was 7-7 at one point. But a really dominant performance by the Panthers tonight. And until I looked at the numbers after the game, I wouldn't have guessed they had 475 yards of offense in this thing and 4 takeaways. Andy Johnson with 2 interceptions. They got on a couple of fumbles. They recovered from their only turnover. They were up by a touchdown late in the second quarter and driving. They got to the 15-yard line of FEL, and McConkey got picked off at the 7. Kind of hanging his head. It was a good opportunity. There was only a minute left in the half. They really wanted to punch that in and get that get that 14-point lead, get that second score ahead of them, of the Foxes, that is. And so they turn over with a minute left. FEL drops back to throw a long pass. Andy Johnson's there to intercept it, very first play. So West Salem was back in business. McConkey throws a 14-yard pass to Johnson to move the ball down the field a bit. Hits Chris Calico in what turns out to be a 27-yard gain. Gets him down to the 5. Last play of the half, McConkey to Johnson, who had the pick. And a really big touchdown for the Panthers there. They go up 21-7, and they get the ball back to start the third quarter. There was a point in this game where FEL got down, I can't remember, they were around the 10-yard line, West Salem's 10, maybe 9, I think it was. And 4th down, threw an incomplete pass. From that point on, they had 4 snaps over the next 10.5 minutes of game clock, and 2 of them were pass plays picked off by Johnson. So they went nowhere for that stretch. West Salem did a really good job of sustaining drives. No 16, 17-yard things, but it was all 7 plays, 8 plays, run clock. Go to Luke Knoll, he had 132 yards, 2 more touchdowns. He has a total of 26, I think, now this year. A couple defensive, but he had his 23rd and 24th rushing touchdowns of the season. So big game for him. Big game for Brennan Kennedy. Just gets big catches. He had one right over a defender for a big gain on one. Had a touchdown on another to prove he's not little. Apparently that's what FBL thought of him. He was very vocal about that after that touchdown. But a good game for him. I think he had 158 yards. Yeah, 158 yards, 6 catches for Brennan Kennedy tonight. So, and West Salem's next game is against 7th-seeded Green Bay Notre Dame, which beat 3rd-seeded Menasha. That was a matchup that everybody knew was going to be really tough for West Salem. Coming up next week, West Salem will get that game at home. I mean, Notre Dame beat Menasha, so there's certainly something to it. Plays in a really good conference. Is certainly going to bring something to the table in that game. But anytime you're looking at, a bracket, you're probably a little better off playing the lower seed. But like I said, they beat the 3 seed, so it's certainly a legit team coming. Speaking of legit teams, Rice Lake comes to Onalaska next week.
Yep.
Rice Lake has done very well in the past against Onalaska in playoff football. So we'll see what Tommy Shinsky has going for the Hilltoppers this week to try and reverse that trend.
They were able to reverse one trend. They finally got out of the second round. They're on
Yes.
to the third round.
Yes, big deal for Onalaska. Second team in program history to win 11 games. First team to be 11-0. They won 11 games back in '96. So a significant win there for Onalaska. We're a step away from that possible Onalaska-West Salem state semifinal. We'll see if we get it. They both have tough games next week. In terms of other things that happened tonight, it's hard to not talk about the Prairie du Chien 52-point explosion there. I mean, they beat River Valley handily during the season.
Ty Wagner had 5 touchdown runs in that one.
5 touchdowns.
And he had
He had a big game.
Yeah,
What was that?
6 touchdowns
Yes.
at some point earlier this year.
Yes. So Ty Wagner hitting some big plays there for the Blackhawks, who are they're number 1 seed and rolling. Bangor shutting out Potosi. Andrew here covers CFC for the Winona Daily News, and CFC had a really good year until the end, and that things kind of caught up with them then. But Potosi beat CFC last week, 58-0.
It was 50-something nothing.
Yeah.
I believe it was 58.
327 rushing yards in that game. Had 20 tonight against Bangor.
Yeah.
So Bangor's defense came to play.
Statement win by Bangor there.
Yes, and now Bangor gets a next round matchup, quarterfinal matchup with Pepinalma, which if you go back a few years when Bangor was kind of at the top of the state, they had some good games with Pepinalma in the playoffs. So we'll see if there's another one coming there.
Pepinalma's a deep team too. I saw them play against CFC just a couple weeks ago, and as you said, CFC was 7-1 at that time. Pepinalma was 8-0, and Pepinalma really took it to them. So yeah, that's a good Pepinalma squad.
Okay, we'll see how Bangor can do in that one, because I mean, Potosi has good postseason reputation. I certainly didn't think of a shutout. I looked it up. Potosi hadn't been shut out since 2018. So great defensive performance for Bangor tonight. Another big game for Tanner Jones in that one. Cashton gets Blackhawk in the next game, which we kind of figured was coming. So they'll host that game at Cashton. Another big night for Colin O'Neill in that one. He get 139 yards and a couple touchdowns there. That was a game that was 22-13 at the half. So Cashton shut out Ithaca in the second half, scored 20 points and made that kind of a Cashton score by the end. But I know a lot of people probably had their ears perked up a little bit when they saw that 22-13 at the half in a game that a lot of people thought Cashton would win handily. Eventually it did. DeSoto, the A-band season comes to an end. They scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter to get within 2. Had the ball late and just failed on a 4th down.
Yeah, they had a 4th and 6, I believe it was. They had a few incompletions in a row late. Just ran out of time, it felt like, because they were holding up defensively really well. I think they gave up only 1 first down to Belmont in the 4th quarter.
And that's a team that scored 32 on them just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think they got shut out in the second half, Belmont did. So DeSoto definitely made it a fight to the end.
Okay. Well, we now get ready for a Saturday that has lots of playoff soccer and volleyball, state cross country, Minnesota football, high school football. So we'll see how some of our teams can do there. We have West Salem and Westby volleyball teams playing sectional finals to go to state. We have Aquinas and Toma soccer teams, boys soccer teams playing to go to state tomorrow. See what happens there. So we'll be updating things as we get them on Saturday at lacrossetribune.com. Watch for all the stories on that kind of stuff. And the volleyball's at night, soccer's in the afternoon. We have UWL football going on tomorrow. James will be on top of that. State cross country tomorrow. We'll get things up about that as soon as we get that. And then we'll get ready for another week of football. And who knows, maybe some state tournaments. We'll see. and then we'll see if we're alive by the end of the week. So thanks for joining us tonight for our TribPreps video here. We'll be back to do another one next week. And remember, lacrossetribune.com is your portal to everything that we're doing here. Videos, stories, photos, you get it all there. So head there whenever you want to see what's going on in the Cooley region. Thanks.